Hi, very good afternoon, friends. I'm Sabyasachi Bharti on behalf of my organization CMS Vatavaran. I welcome you all. As you all know, that today we are celebrating the World Biodiversity Day, and on the eve of World Biodiversity Day, with with our with the collaboration of our with our partners like High Commission of Canada in India and lead the Green Change campaign of delegation of European Union to India. Uh, we are, celebrating a 18-day biodiversity festival known as Celebrating Biodiversity Lockdown 2.2, a special online festival. And in this festival, we are going to have a series of programs, uh, including daily online, wonderful, award winning documentary and film screening. And you will glad to know that till 8th of uh, June next month, we will be screening more than 35 award winning national and international films. And then daily 5 p.m. we will have an online live Q&A session with the filmmakers. Uh, and apart from that, we will have a workshop, and then we will have online inter-school environment quiz competition on World Environment Day on June 5, and then uh, on the eve of the World Ocean Day, that is 8th of June, we will have a special online session uh, with Swati Tyagarajan uh, from this. She is an Oscar winner for the documentary My Octopus Teacher. She will be with us, and we will be talking in length about our filmmaking process. As I was saying that we will have a daily film screening from now onwards. Today we screen 4 films, and we and every day at 5 o'clock we will have a online live Q&A session with the filmmakers. So today we are going to have two very wonderful, very remarkable, very uh, prominent filmmaker. Wildlife environment and uh, the films they are making, they are really wonderful, they are world class, they had been widely acclaimed, and they got several international awards. So we are going to have with us Gunjan Menon and Sourav Sarangi. So hi Gunjan, hi Sourav, how are you?
Hi.
So,
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, on behalf of CMS Vatavaran, I welcome both of you on this live Q&A session today. So, as I was saying, that we are celebrating a 18-day long uh, biodiversity celebration where we will be screening daily several award-winning films. And today we had screened 4 films. In the one film from Gunjan, uh, the Firefox Guardian is there, which we are screening, and Saurabh sir's film Char is already there. So these films will be available for 24 hours of time. So I will request all the our viewers to go to CMS Vatavaran's social media website, uh, on YouTube channel and social Facebook page, and there they can watch the both the films till tomorrow 10 o'clock. So before I start talking, let me have the pleasure to give a little introduction of both of these wonderful filmmakers which are with us. So we'll start with Gunjan. As you know, Gunjan Menon is an independent wildlife filmmaker and writer, and she's a National Geographic explorer and is known for her character-driven conservation and human interest stories. Gunjan has won multiple awards, over 40 international awards and nominations across 15 countries so far for her works. Her non-fiction works has been on Animal Planet, Discovery Channel, National Geographic, Disney Plus, Hotstar, BBC Earth, along with other local and Indian platforms. Uh, Gunjan holds an MA in wildlife filmmaking from the University of West England, Bristol. Her keen interest in anthropology and endangered species took her to Nepal in 2007. She trekked more than 12,000 feet in the eastern Himalayas to capture a unique bond shared between an indigenous woman and Wild Red Pandas in her independent short film, The Firefox Guardian, which won several awards and which we are screening today. This film is critically acclaimed, as I was saying, and was shortlisted for Student BAFTA Award. It is now traveling to various film festivals, schools, and colleges across the world. Has successfully started the dialogue on ecofeminism and continues to raise fund for red panda conservation. It won Best Film in the Student category in CMS Vatavaran Film Festival also. And she is the recipient of Jackson Wild Rising Star 2020 Award. And she is currently working on her first feature length film supported by National Geographic Society. Uh, Thank you, Gunjan, for accepting our request and coming to the session. And we have Sourav Sarangi, sir. And I must tell you that Saurabh. I'm a huge fan of Sourav Sarangi's work. I'm following him from 2008 from his film Bilal, and Bilal is one of my very close to heart, one of the most favorite documentary in my list. And every time I watch Bilal, I go in trance. I must say you have to see Bilal. Even the film which today we are screening Char, you must see it, and then you will understand why I am saying that every time I watch his film, I go in trance, because the way he's show the human emotions and the way he used the grammar and the technique of cameras and editing, it's wonderful. uh, so and you know that he's one of the most revered and acclaimed documentary filmmaker of India. After graduating from Film and Television Institute of India, he began working on television as an editor, as a director of telefilms, and turned out to be one of the most significant figure in the changing face of Bengali satellite television. He made his debut in 1996 with the documentary Tushu Katha, which dealt with Titular festival observed and celebrated in the travel dominated areas in West Bengal and Jharkhand. He followed it with Bhangon in 2008, his third film Bilal, my most favorite film, which follows the life of young boy raised by a blind parent, has been shown at over 40 festivals worldwide and won 8 awards. His latest film, his film Char, The No Man's Land, won the National Film Award for the Best Anthropological Ethnographical Film, and many other acclaimed uh, uh, awards around the world. Even it won a Best Film Award in CMS Vatavaran, previous CMS Vatavaran Film Festival. So thank you, Saurav sir, for taking the time and coming to this session. Uh, so with your permission, Saurav sir, I will start with Gunjan. And Gunjan, I want to know how this journey started and why you wanted to go into the wildlife and environment film making, because it's a very difficult. It's not that uh, glossy and the thing which we see it on camera. It's very difficult to make environment and especially wildlife films. And uh, why not the gold and glitter of Bollywood to rather than this environment and wildlife?
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Sabyasachi ji. Ever since I was a kid, I was very fascinated by the natural world, and I always wanted to, do something connected to wildlife. And as I was growing up, I also was drawn to the world of cinema. I loved watching films, and even the documentaries that I was watching, they usually had those 15 minutes in the end where they showed behind the scenes of how the film was made, and I was very fascinated by the craft that goes into it. So when the time came for me to choose a career, I decided to merge the two passions of mine and get into wildlife filmmaking. But the challenge that time was there was no specific course in India that time that could teach you how to be a wildlife filmmaker as such. So I just started learning the craft of filmmaking and thought I'll just uh, combine do wildlife films myself and just merge it. And somehow it just happened that I was working with NGOs like Wildlife Trust of India, and I used to just tell them, "Can I make a film for you?" I used to work in their communications department and just help them with small films, and then interned with people like Mike Pandey sir, Riverbank Studios, and they sort of guided me on that it is possible as a profession. And then finally, I got the chance to pursue. By then, like a few years had passed, and the awareness had increased. So there was a course in UK called Masters in Wildlife Filmmaking, and this was supported by BBC National History Unit. So then I went and pursued that, and then after that, like there's been no turning back. I've just been pursuing wildlife filmmaking full time, and I would not have it any other way.
Okay, so so you decided to join the wildlife filmmaking, and then there was no course here in India, and then you have to go to Bristol.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, if I want to be a filmmaker, there are so many institutes in India. But if we want to be a specific environment filmmaker, certainly there is lack of schools and colleges where these guys
Yeah.
can go. So what is the current situation right now? And if someone want to be an environmental filmmaker, what he or she should do?
Right now there's no formal education as such happening here. There is a Green Hub fellowship that focuses on youth of the Northeast, and right now they're just expanded to Central India, where they train the youth of our country to get into wildlife filmmaking or environmental filmmaking, tell stories from their communities. But if you want like a formal education, I don't think there's anything. Even in the course I did for my undergrad, there was absolutely no focus on wildlife filmmaking, or even that much focus on documentaries. They had just told me that half of our course will be a waste on you. Why do you want to still do a media and communications degree? So I said, it's okay. I'll just learn the craft and then use it to tell the stories I want to tell. So I think that is one way to go for it. The other is to just not go for a formal degree, just practice on your own and intern with people who are already doing this, learn on the job like all other things. And I think if you want to really tell the stories you want to tell, you will find a path. There's just like one final destination, but multiple roads leading to the same
Okay.
destination. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me go to at this point to Sourav sir. So, Sourav sir, I know that you are not a wildlife filmmaker as per se, but the Char which we are screening is certainly doing it's a very difficult kind of film. Even if we were going through it, uh, we were saying that the terrain is so difficult to shoot, and it's divided by two different countries, and then there is a defense and the police and the CRPF. So first of all, I want to know that why you decided to make this film Char, and what was the process, and how you manage it.
Thank you, Sabyasachi, firstly for your gorgeous introduction to me. It makes me small. And thanks for your love for Bilal. I truly appreciate it. Yeah, no, when you talk about Char, it's not a wildlife film. Or if you
Yes.
look at the film, you cannot really specify the genre of the film, like it's a wildlife film or it's a scientific
Yeah.
film, it's an environmental film, because there are many layers and aspects which I tried to raise in the film. And the main thing which really forced me to make this film is the let's say the there is a a scheme for the let's say how to improve, how to better our lives. That is very human centric developmental plans or projects. But when you face a situation that it comes back to you with a myopic vision, and you somehow miss the benefits, and you see a huge number of people who are there to witness it are actually suffering. And that's what happened at the border between two countries, where we made a border on the middle point of a river, an international border, which cannot move. But the river moves itself. And especially after you build something like a huge structure to control the river, Ganga, uh, by making a barrage, Farakka barrage, which is like a dam, the river does not understand the mechanism. She reacts differently and she keeps moving. And when a river moves, all the people who live near the river, they have to move too. And they are in the process. For instead of getting the benefits of the project, they become homeless. So this is could be a news, but I tried to see what happens after one person or families uh, after the home gets lost. How does one find to try to, because witnessed the loss of home. I saw the houses, trees,
Yeah.
roads, buildings going down like in a slow motion apocalypse. And I wondered, okay, this is a spectacle which can be fed to the television. But what remains, the story remains, what happens after that? That made me curious. What happens after people lose their homes, their farmland, their orchards, or everything that they had? So Char was a search for that in a very complicated situation, as you said, that it's an international border, and it's a flood zone. It's a river which keeps moving, and it's not a small river. It's a huge river like Ganga. So I wanted to also explore the relationship between the humans and the non-humans, because in a process of our journey, human journey, somewhere I feel that we have become too much anthropocentric, human centric. And also, there, if you watch my films, you will find little tiny bits of, life which floats in water. There are frogs, there are birds, there are trees. So with all this, you create a zone which a river creates. So if you look at only the human aspect of it, you are going against the rules of the nature. So I wanted to question those, and somehow started shooting.
So it was when you watch the documentary, you will understand that managing shooting was not very easy in Chor.
Mm.
So how you manage, like how you will running with the people around them, and how you manages these boundaries, and then the police which was there, like
Mm.
are they were very friendly, they let you shoot, how you manage it? Because yes, for a new filmmaker or a film aspirant, it's really difficult to understand that how you manage that.
So Busachi, the obvious question is, how could I shoot in a very very sensitive area in an international
Yes.
border? And it's not a border which is defined well by barbed wires, because it's a river which separates two countries. So it's very porous. It's very undefined and heavily served. The surveillance system from both the nations, both the states, are huge. It's not like India-Pakistan border in the west, or in Kashmir. It's Bangladesh was once East Pakistan. After it became Bangladesh, we are very friendly states. But still, it's an international border, and a lot of things happen in the border, which the security system would not let go out open to the press or the writers or anybody who comes. So getting the permission from the border security force on Indian side was extremely difficult. I had to spend a lot of time to convince them. But to me, the more important permission was to get from the local people, because they as you can see, when after they lost their lands, they lost their professions as fishermen, boatmen, as farmers. There was no profession. They had nothing, and they were living virtually in no man's land because a new island came up within the river by eroding the same land that they had. And by living in that island, which is kind of no man's area, where both Bangladeshis also live one side, also Indians live on another side, lot of things happen without having no other resources except for smuggling. And those people, uh, you know, irrespective of age and gender, they became smugglers. Right. Now, what was probably before the partition was trade, because a river always asks for people to cross over, to come from one point to another point, to bring one commodity here to sell it there. That's how trade and commerce, culture, everything grows up. But once you make a boundary, an artificial river, a normal trade becomes smuggling. So all the people, they became criminals. Who made them criminals? My main protagonist was a 14 years old kid. Instead of going to school, instead of playing in the playground in the afternoon, he was carrying rice and taking it to Bangladesh to sell it for survival. Who made him criminal? So to get the permission of these people to shoot them, whom the mainstream, we look at them as criminals, was difficult. It was also, you have to gain the trust that no, you don't consider them as criminals. You consider them as humans. So it took a lot of time for me to make the trust with these people. And of course, the situation, because I was shooting in an isolated island within the river, there were water on four sides, there was sun and sky on top, and there was nothing else. There was no electricity. There was no place to stay. There was, for you need batteries to get charged for shooting for your camera. So there was no electricity. The drinking water was difficult. So it was a tough situation. But me and my crew decided that we will share the work and get the experience. So how it feels like to be there, cut off from the mainstream, and be there in isolation, where the mainstream have deserted and the administration has dehumanized them. We wanted to have that feeling, and we stayed for days and weeks with them. It was tough, but it completely transformed me to look at my own society in a different way.
Wow, wow. So now coming back to Gunjan, as Sourav sir was saying that he was making a film on the border, and it was a human and river, interacting with each other, and was an emotion there. When we talk about your film Firefox Guardian, it was also made on a border, that's India-Nepal border. The human connection was there. You were in jungle. It was a lady who was taking care of these Firefox pandas. How these things happen, how you as the sort of sir was in no man's land, you were in a deep jungle. So how you thought of this Firefox Guardian, how you come to know this protagonist, and how you make the film. Although it's a short film, but it's a well made, very beautiful film, very emotional film. So it's not only talk about the Firefox Guardian, but it also talks about a man and animal connection, a correlation between them. So how you manage all these things?
Thank you for that question, and I know why you said that Souras's films take you to in a trance, because I was just listening to him and I was completely lost. So let me come back to my world and answer your question. Um, I wanted to make a film about red pandas because they were my favorite animals at the time, and I had never seen one in the wild, and I thought that. Uh, that would be the best opportunity to tell that story, because we had to make a 10-minute short film as a part of our degree film when I was doing my master's. And while we were told to keep it local to England and like something that's accessible, something that's easy, I really wanted to come back here and tell a story that I was very passionate about. So I decided to take that risk and come here, tell the story of red pandas. But I also was very realistic. I knew that telling a full behavior story, animal behavior story of red pandas is difficult for someone like me who's just starting out. So I started talking to people about red pandas and what it meant to them. And to my surprise, like even some of my close friends did not know what a red panda was. I used to get this question that, oh, I didn't know pandas came in red. So then I realized that just making a film about red pandas was not enough. There had to be a human connection, and if people did not know what red pandas were, how was I going to ask them to push for conservation or ask them to contribute to saving them in the wild? So then I started researching even more, and I came across this article on a blog post made by Red Panda Network, which read "Role of Women in Red Panda Conservation," and I really was drawn to that article. There was this one photograph there where there were some 12 men standing, and right in the center there was this woman standing, and she was the first female forest guardian. And she had said that I will do anything for red pandas in that article, and that instantly pulled me in. I started writing emails to Red Panda Network, and I told them that, can I just come to Nepal? I want to tell the story. I know you probably will never reply, I'm the student. But thankfully they replied and they loved the idea. They have been supporting me since then. Until now, our correspondence continues and we try and help each other in whichever way possible. But that time they supported me, and then I just went to Nepal, and that's how Menuka became the central character of my story, because I wanted people to relate to the film I was making, because preaching to the choir or just showing wildlife films in the same community to me wasn't going to help at a larger scale. I wanted people who are not from the filmmaking background or not involved in wildlife to watch the film and be moved by it, and follow the story of red pandas, so that they could actually we could bring in more people to our tribe. So that way I wanted to preach beyond the choir. So I sort of took that approach, and even in the film you'll notice it's a very non-traditional way of telling a documentary. It's very narrative and a lot like fiction in between. So I just sort of mixed genres so that it could appeal to a larger audience. And yeah, that was your question, right? How did this story come about?
Yeah, and it is a success. It really appealed to the people who, even in the when we were, it was in the jury process in CMS Vatavaran Film Festival. Everyone loved the way you presented the story, and they were touched by the emotion of your protagonist, the lady, which the forest lady, the way she was attached to Red Panda, and how emotional she was while she was talking. Yes, you capture the emotion, absolutely in a very, very fantastic way.
And
Uh,
funny thing, she didn't speak, like, we didn't speak the same language. She only knew Nepali and I only knew Hindi and English. So we were using a communicator, but I think it was a mutual fascination and love for red
yeah,
pandas that made us bond. And I could get her to be vulnerable in front of the camera, which was very important. We took a proper week to get to know each other, to get that story out. Otherwise
yeah,
we were getting very standard answers which
and
wouldn't.
sometimes, yeah, and sometimes verbal communication is not, it's only a part of the thing. It's the way you connect to the person, and the whole emotional connection. Probably you were able to, generate that connection with the lady. So although we both were speaking different language, but the feeling was there. Okay, so before I go to Saurabh, sir, like I have a question from Aditya Vedantam. Hello, sirs and ma'am. I'm a journalism and mass communication student, and I want to pursue filmmaking for my masters. Kindly suggest some good film schools in India, as NYFA and other international film schools are very expensive. Thank you for hosting the session. Uh, Gunjan, because you
I
just
think
have.
Saurav sir can take that about FTII and tell him more about that.
Hmm. Sir,
Okay.
before can you answer Aditya's question? Like,
Yeah, sure,
yes,
sure, sure.
FTI is certainly there. FTI is
Yeah,
certainly
FTI,
there.
yeah, FTI is there also. SR which is in Kolkata, which is Asian in nature. Not only any Indian student, but also
Mhm,
Asian students can come here. So
mhm,
it's also the curriculum is the same. I mean, it's a twine institutions that is there. Also, there are many other institutions, as already you know, Jamia Millia is
yeah,
very good. NID is very good institution. In South, Srishti is doing a
yes,
wonderful
yes, yes, no
job.
doubt.
So there are many options, and since you said that it is expensive, yes, this medium is expensive, Aditya, unfortunately. And though these courses are subsidized, even the I find the current courses, the fee structure in FTI and SRFTI has gone up enormously, which makes it difficult. So I suppose there are many regional film schools. Like I can talk about West Bengal. There is a center called Rupkola Kendro, which
Mhm,
which is considered by the state, I'm sure, which is much cheaper, and you get all the inputs that you need to. And I'm sure that there are other authorized and institutions from at state level which can be helpful for you, because what you need essentially is a mind and a
yeah,
few equipments and your passion to drive you forward. And I don't think a film school can teach that.
yes,
It has to come from inside you. It's only a space, and that space is available, Aditya. You don't have to go to an expensive film school. You don't have to go to abroad to study films. And if you consider the society is your library, it becomes easier. So just take a camera, and that's it.
okay. So,
And
Saurabh, sir,
again,
yeah,
it's like,
please go ahead.
sorry, I'd like to add to what Saurav sir said that
Mhm,
uh, absolutely you work under people. Since you're pursuing your bachelor's right now, don't go for a master's straight away, especially in this field. You try and work with people, get some work experience, and you'll realize which
Hmm.
specialization you also like what is your strength, what are you passionate about, and then that'll help you decide even if you need a master's or not. I know some brilliant filmmakers who have no
Hmm.
degree at all. They're just
Hmm.
very passionate about what they're doing and very good at their craft. So, like, just the set standard is not the only route that you can take.
okay. Coming back to Saurabh, sir, to you and about the schooling again, the film school. So you had completed your film schooling from FTII. So generally, it's a perception that from FTII, the FTII pass out, they want to go to the mainstream filmmaking, Bollywood, Hollywood, all these woods. So why would to documentary? Why after coming from FTII, why you wanted to be a documentary filmmaker? Why documentary? Because it's not very glamorous field. It's very difficult,
Hmm.
and money is
Yeah.
not there for sure.
Absolutely. No, it's a question to myself too, because I was drawn towards films when I was studying in my college, and that was the, let's say, the mid 80s, and that time the film society movement was very strong, especially in Bengal and Kerala, where you could watch in the film societies used to bring. Now it's different. Now you can download. There is internet. You can get it in just by a click. But in our time, the films, other than which got the commercial films, the Bollywood, Hollywood, Tollywood films. Other films were really very difficult, especially the world films. So when I got the exposure to the world cinema, what struck me is the realism that comes from those films. It's not song dance, titillating evocation, and to just have a frolicking time. I love uh, Bollywood films, watching for but what struck me as because I had I suppose a creative mind, because I wanted to write, I wanted to paint and failed, and I loved films. But this kind of film, which talks about ordinary people, normal situation, everyday mundane things, and yet there are stories which will touch your heart. So I suppose this attraction to reality or realism
Mhm.
drew me to the, let's say, documentary film. On the other hand, the kind of cinema that you make, because both are cinema to me. When I construct a narrative in a non-fiction or documentary format, still it's a cinematic expression for me. So, but if I would have joined the bandwagon at Mumbai or the regional film industries, I would have had to conform to the needs of the industry, which is primarily entertainment, which is
Mhm.
money oriented. So
Mhm.
the reason I was drawn towards cinema, I would have betrayed that for my own livelihood, for my career. So I did not want to make that betrayal to cinema. I wanted to true to the form that drew me out of my academic career, made me fight with my father, you know, and I lost my friends whom I studied together for years in the college, very dear friends, and go to completely an unknown territory. It is because of the love of cinema. So I did
Mhm.
not want to lose that privilege of falling in love and staying with that love. So I suppose that draws me towards this more, unusual path of non-fiction or documentary filmmaking, because I find cinema here. I don't find the art of cinema in the popular commercial mainstream films. The
Mhm.
commitment goes elsewhere.
Yeah.
So that could be the reason, but I don't know. I'm not aware of this.
Yeah.
I'm just reacting to your question.
Mhm. So I know that I have crossed the half an hour time, but the things that the talk is so interesting that with your permission, I want to continue for a few minutes more. So, sir, one question to you before I go to Gunjan again is like, is film for film's sake, or is film with a responsibility to change the world? And can film change the world?
Mhm. Okay. I think, Sabyasachi, this is a very pertinent, important question, but you are talking about both the extremes.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, Bertolt Brecht, the German dramaturg, he said that art is not like a mirror which reflects the reality, but
Mhm.
it's the hammer which shapes it, which can shape it. Now that's an absolutely an extreme statement, you know. But what I understand by watching films, by making films, is that yes, film, obviously, every film in its own way makes its change, creates its impact on the audience. It's a change of the perception. It one cannot be neutral, you know.
Mhm.
So I suppose that this is the intrinsic quality of the film to change, bring in change in the people's mind. But I suppose you are talking about another kind of change, which is more physical. It's to bring changes to the world in a social system, and for that you have need a kind of movement with an impact campaign, where you structure a film where you find a crisis and you find a problem, and the filmmaker can find or indicate a solution to it. And if that solution is valid, then if it reaches society, the audience, they can demand for it. So if there is an unfair law which needs to be protested, the film can come in and make people aware that, okay, this law is actually unfair to the people. So there has to be a campaign and a method where the film and the filmmaker becomes united with a group of activists, where you need partners for this campaign and you need target audience. So now this is one area of filmmaking which is very focused. Let's say we have lots of filmmakers, uh, especially not so much in fiction but in documentary, who has a purpose, a goal in mind, to reach out, to stop a construction which will be unfair to the nature, which will be unfair to the turtles. So if we to say, maybe you should not set up a thermal power station in the middle of Sundarban Islands. So,
Mhm.
so if you find a reason to believe that, okay, this should not happen, you orient your film that way. But also, Sabyasachi, I suppose there can be films which does not give a solution, which creates a canvas where people have larger perspectives to question themselves. Am I doing?
Mhm.
What is my perception?
Mhm.
This change of perception, I think, is very very important.
Mhm.
Only reading it can happen by reading a book. It can happen by looking at a painting, and all the art media has this tremendous power to affect the audience. What I thought right yesterday after watching a good film, I realized that no, I was wrong. My impression
Mhm.
whole life I have thought that this looks brown. Actually, it's not brown. It
Mhm.
looks something else because I looked it with a different spectacle. I looked it from a different. I'm talking metaphorically. I
Yeah.
looked it with a different notion, but
Yes.
that has to be corrected. I think this change is important. The societal change is a long process. I don't believe that a film overnight cannot. It's not like heating some cold water, putting some fire under it. It's a long
Mhm.
historical, social, political change where film can play a very, very powerful and important role. I would not have the audacity to say that films can change the world.
Gunjan, one of our viewer, Bala Mohan Ramaswamy, said, "Dear Sabyasachi Bharti, the film can be in a big role, but change depend on how films are teaching people in soft way." What do you say?
Um, I do agree, but I also think that it can be more than that as well. Just teaching people, or films can, drive people to act. So it's not just about creating hope, or not just about informing someone or educating someone, but where I believe that powerful films come in is where they can inspire people to act. And like
Mhm.
Sarasa said, that campaigns, that's where impact campaigns come in, and that's where films have the power to induce a behavioral change. For example, like I remember reading that when Blue Planet 2 came out in UK, like there were several campaigns after that, and that actually led to the banning of single use plastics there, because people sitting in their living rooms realized that this was my my mindless buy, like a single use plastic straw was causing this much devastation to the marine life. And then they actually went back and took a look at what they were doing, so that way it can incite behavioral change. And in India too, like I remember being very inspired by this while growing up, that Mike Pandey's film Shows of Silence, that actually led to the banning of whale shark finning, like
Yes.
the hunting of whale sharks. And
Yes.
that's what inspires me. That's why I do what I do, because I truly believe that films are really powerful. And now what we have started doing, and I feel that our generation of filmmakers, like Sarasa said, especially documentary filmmakers, we do tend to look at issues and tend to look at it in a reverse order. Like we will look at what the problem is first, and then try to think of the film idea and how to
Mhm.
solve it. And solve it in the sense, I'm not saying that as individuals can change the world, but I think if even one person is changing their actions based just after watching our films, then that is a start. And then at a larger scale, I mean, I'm not saying that is enough, but then at a larger scale you
Yeah.
inspire governments, you inspire them to ask questions, and that is what will, in a way, lead to changing the world somehow, because uh, when people start asking questions, that's when the problems begin. And if your
Yes.
films can make them ask questions, then you're doing something right.
Yeah, like I can talk at least 5 to 10 hours with both of you. Like there are so many things to listen. But yeah, I have a very I crossed my limit of the time. So before closing the session, one last question. It's not. I'm. We just want to ask about us. Like CMS Vatavaran is also there for a cause to change the perception of the people regarding the biodiversity conservation and the human animal relationship and environment. Uh, and that's why we use film as a medium of tool, and then we do the festivals, traveling festival and the traditional festival. So, being a filmmaker, how do you think uh, the film festivals like CMS Vatavaran are performing? Do you think now it's everything is going online and you can find a film? So now the film festivals like CMS Vatavaran are absolute, or do you think that it's still relevant, and what CMS Vatavaran is doing or what the festivals like us are doing, it is still relevant, and we are on the path which we want to achieve is like to change the perception of the people. uh, Gunjan, first, your thought.
I think it's more relevant now than ever before, because this way, like in the virtual world, we are, just look at us, we are connecting from three different cities, and earlier, and this whole thing of changing people's perception, your reach has widened. So of course, film festivals are really important in bringing different perspectives. Otherwise, we tend to keep seeing the same films again and again in the same circles. And film festivals actually connect you to people. They bring in more ideas, and I think you're doing a wonderful job. And this needs to just continue and grow bigger and bigger with the coming years.
Thank you. Saurav sir, same thing, like uh, if you want to see the films, and if you go to the traditional TV channels and the system, they are very uh, business centric. They won't
Mm,
show you difficult films which raise questions, but they
mm,
want to see you all the goodies, so that you can live in a trance and don't ask questions. Let it be what is happening. Let it be. So do you do you think that the platforms like CMS Vatavaran are still relevant and they are doing what they are supposed to do, and how we should move forward? So your comments, sir.
yeah, I know CMS Vatavaran for quite a long time, and I have not been connected very closely, but I can see it has grown up from one just festival to many other activities. First, it started with the small traveling festivals. Even I was part of it in Tripura,
Yeah.
and I could watch some more films and interact with the audience of Tripura, who came up with different sets of questions from their perspective. So I suppose activities like this will definitely, because I suppose CMS Vatavaran is the only theme-based uh, festival in our country which focuses on an issue, and it does not, go here and there. So its focus is very clear. So if that is there, the ways to, manifest its agenda in different ways using the social media, using the popular media, using blogs, involving people of young generations whose opinion, whose perceptions matter more. So that would be wonderful. And I suppose I miss those traveling festivals a little bit. Of course, we are now stuck in a lockdown, and any imagination to travel brings a pleasure to our minds. So please, this is a suggestion.
Yeah, we will continue the traveling festival. Actually, sir, for last 2 years we are trying to do a series of festival in the Himalayan region with the and few days back I was in Kelong, that is across the tunnel, Atal tunnel, 11,000 feet. Very lack of oxygen was there, and we tried to do it. We had completed one festival in Uttarkashi. We tried to do it in Lahore and Spiti, but then again the lockdown is there. So hope for the best. Everything when everything will come, as it was. We will start our festival again. That for sure. This year also we are like we had a festival due in the month of November. That is 11 same as Vatavaran, film festival. But I don't know how the things will go. We will decide according to the situation. But yeah. These words from Gunjan and Saurabh sir has given us, uh, again boost up our boost our energy, and then somewhere it gives us some moral support that yes, what we are doing is not absolute, so we should do. So thank you very much, and we hope to have more and more films of you in near future. Uh, and Thank you for coming. Please do make these kind of wonderful, beautiful film. I'm unable to talk to Saurav sir regarding Bilal, but yes, I hope in near future we will have a one-to-one, 2 hour discussion where we will talk in a length. And Gunjan, yes, I also wanted to talk to you regarding your future endeavors, but yes, the time doesn't permit. We thought of half an hour, it's already 51 minutes. So thank you for being with us, and thank you for coming uh, and be a part of this questions session. It was really nice talking to you, Gunjan and Saurabh sir. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Have a good night, sir.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Good night. Bye.
So, friends, it was a wonderful session talking to Sourav sir and Gunjan Menon. We talk a lot about, but there are so many things which we still have to discuss. But the time, it flies. So, as I was saying, that we will doing a 18-day series. We will continue having these kind of wonderful filmmakers every day. These, conscious filmmakers, which will talk about their work. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock, do join us with Akanksha Damini Joshi ji here, and we will talk about her journey, her thought process, and then we will have a number of filmmakers in a line. These are the and please go to our social media platforms, Facebook platform and the YouTube channel, and do watch the wonderful film. Saurabh and Gunjan film will be there tomorrow till 10-11 o'clock. So don't miss to watch these films, and please do write to us if you have any suggestion, if you want to meet some other environmental filmmaker, or anything. Please do write to us. Thank you very much for being with us, and have a great night. Have a great day ahead. Good night. See you tomorrow.